the B Plus Wrestling Podcast.
The Moose.
You might not be an A, but you are a B plus.
Check it out! Here we go! You wanna mess with us? 'Cause we're steady on the ground.
All right, ladies, gents, and non-binary friends, welcome to another B Plus podcast experience. I am your host, the Unchained Experience. You see where I'm going with this, right? Today is Friday. You know what that means. It is time for the Aussie Grapps experience. That's right. It's the day here on the B Plus experience where we sit down and talk to an Aussie Grappler or Grappler adjacent person. We go through the Aussie Grapps news of the week. We tell you what's happening this weekend near you in Aussie Grapps. Grapps. I know that makes a bunch of you cringe. That's part of the experience. This week, I'm going to sit down and talk to Stella Nix, who has had a phenomenal start to 2019. She just got back from her WrestleMania trip as well. We're going to talk all about that. But before I do, let's take a look at this week in Aussie Grapps news. Starting as we so often do with Australians overseas, there is still a lot going on. There are still a lot of our guys out traveling at the moment, and it's hard to keep up with everything. But the obvious one is, of course, right there on WWE television every week. We've got the Iconics. They're our women's tag team champions, but that's not what I'm talking about. Buddy frickin' Murphy has been called up across, I don't know if it's up necessarily, but he's been called to SmackDown Live. He is no longer on 205 Live. He is now a part of the main roster on SmackDown. Fantastic stuff. I mean, this is a guy who was languishing in the mid-card in NXT, took it upon himself to cut weight, even though he was told not to, took it upon himself to cut weight to get to 205 so that he could prove himself, so he could get that opportunity. And he took the bull by the fucking horns and just ran with it. You don't run with a bull, you run with a ball, but you get what I'm saying. Buddy Murphy has done amazing things on 205 Live, becoming the Cruiserweight Champion. Had that big match at Super Showdown. This is an amazing moment, and to see that he's been called to SmackDown Live is fantastic. Congratulations, Buddy Murphy. He also had a match this week on NXT with North American Champion Velveteen Dream, which was amazing. One of the better matches NXT TV has had for a while, so definitely check that out. And if you want to know more about what Buddy Murphy's getting up to, what all of the WWE people are getting up to, stay tuned to our WWE podcasts. You know, The View from the WWE Universe, or as it was known this week, the WWE Experience, and the NXT Edition, or as it was known this week, the NXT Experience, because the Viking Experience is the stupidest fucking name, and it's great, and so everything is an experience now. Velveteen Dream used to be the Experience, right? He was like the Patrick Clark Experience. Anyway, I'm trying not to ramble so much on these Aussie Grapps episodes, so I gotta keep this tight. Total Flogs is coming soon. Total Flogs. It's like Total Divas, Total Bellas, Total Flogs. It's Jonah Rock. It's Elliot Sexton. They posted a teaser thing on Facebook. I'll put a link in the show notes. Definitely check it out. Total Flogs coming soon. Cannot wait. Jonah Rock is hilarious. Elliot Sexton is hilarious. Anyone who's watched Trophy Life knows that Elliot Sexton is the man. And so Total Flogs, the adventures of these two boys in NXT is going to be amazing, and I'm really looking forward to it. Taking a look closer to home, though, we have some big news on our shores. New Japan Pro Wrestling have announced the Southern Showdown Tour. 2 dates have been announced. They are hitting Melbourne on June 29th at Festival Hall, and then heading to Sydney on the 30th to put on a show at the UNSW Roundhouse. Obviously, Festival Hall, a historic venue for pro wrestling down there in Victoria. And the UNSW Roundhouse is actually one of my favorite Sydney venues. I've never seen wrestling there, but some of my favorite concerts from my late teen years were at that venue. I think I saw My Chemical Romance there before they had that big blow-up album with the Black Parade. Gym Class Heroes played there. All American Rejects. Kiss Chasey did a big show there. They're a phenomenal venue. One of my favorite venues in Sydney. I have some really good memories at the Roundhouse. I'm quite fond of it. It was never easy to get to. Public transport wise, it was never easy to get to, but I haven't been in Sydney for some years, so I don't know if that's been rectified, if there's better public transport to the Roundhouse now, but it's one of the best venues in the country, so I'm very excited for Sydney people to get to see New Japan in such a great space. Coming off the heels of that announcement, Davis Storm has started a petition. He wants, Storm versus Thunder. He wants Jushin Thunder Liger, and so he should. I mean, that's going to be an amazing match, a dream match. I hope Davis Storm gets it. Mike Burr has put his hat in as well. The race is on, I guess, to see who gets those coveted Liger matches, because he's a legend and he's retiring. He's made it known that he's retiring. We don't even know for sure that he's coming. We got to assume he's coming. he wants to be everywhere and wrestling for everyone and having his final matches this year. So you got to think he's going to have some matches here in Australia. And I do hope Davis Storm gets one of them. But there's only 2 dates. There's only 2 dates on this tour. So only 2 people are going to get the match. It's tough. It's tough because a lot of our guys would do some great things. Robbie Eagles would be amazing against Liger. Any number of the PWA guys would. I don't know. It's very exciting. And yeah, I just want to throw my support behind Davis Storm. Storm versus Thunder. Let's get it happening. This weekend, we're going to get some more mainstream media coverage for Aussie wrestling. Now, I know you guys know how I feel about mainstream media covering Australian wrestling. I'm always trepidatious, always. The Triple M guys, I feel like, Rose, who I spoke to on last week's show, you can go back and listen. And, Seb Costello and these guys, they're actual fans. You can tell Chris Gale with PWA as well, and of course Nashi up in AWA in Queensland. These guys are real fans who actually support the local product, and their coverage is a blessing. It really is. The thing that happened on the Channel 10 Daily website, that covering PWA and the Now We Conquer, the You're Gonna Notice Us, Now We Conquer stuff, that was a blessing. It was fantastic. It was clearly made by someone who respects Australian pro wrestling. A lot of mainstream media doesn't. Like when you hear the Project are going to be somewhere recording something, I get a bit iffy. And this one I'm a bit iffy about. So the AWF this weekend are putting on a show at Parramatta RSL. You will hear about it in our What's Happening This Weekend section. But the Fox Footy Show team are going to be in attendance. So Matty Johns, Brian Fletcher, and Nathan Hindmarsh are set to film some interviews with AWF wrestlers. And according to the AWF Facebook, possibly even interject themselves into the action. Great. I'm cautious. I'm keen to see how it plays out and how it gets portrayed and whether or not it has a fucking laugh track over it. I hope it doesn't. I hope these guys... I hear that Matty Johns is a wrestling fan. If he's a wrestling fan, it's possible that this will come out okay. It's just one of those things, man. I'm always cautious about mainstream media. I want mainstream media to pay attention, but I want it to be in a respectful way. And being AWF, being the footy show, I don't know. I'm very cautious about this, but it is happening. So if you want to potentially be a part of that, be a part of the footy show, you want to get down to that show this weekend, and I'll tell you where you can do that after the interview with Stella Nix. Some other things this week that have hit the news. Kellyanne has been double booked. We presume she hasn't actually been double booked. There's a situation where she is announced for a match in Melbourne City Wrestling against Millie McKenzie. Big match for Fallout there in MCW on April 27th. On the same night, BCW are in Adelaide for Lucha Down Underground 2. And they have advertised Kellyanne for a match there as well, with involving Katrina. But it's probably not going to happen, right? And yet it's on the posters, it's advertised, and I understand that Kellyanne is the BCW champion. When people asked Kellyanne on Twitter, we're going to see you in Melbourne, right? She's like, of course, I'm going to be at the MCW show. So she can't do both. They're in different states, right? Like, this isn't Tony Khan. He doesn't have a private jet. It's not going to fly her over. It's a matter of she will be at the Melbourne City Wrestling show. She is the BCW Women's Champion. So I'm guessing that's why they have her advertised. She'll probably drop the strap on night 1 in Melbourne and then be taken off the card for the night 2, where the champion will be in this match with Katrina. But you could easily just advertise it as Katrina versus the winner of Kellyanne and whoever she's going to face on night 1. You don't need to lie to people. You don't need to put Kellyanne's face on a poster when she's not going to be at the show. It's false advertising at this point. And I'm very lenient with BCW. I like a lot of their matches. I like a lot of the matches they put on. I like having places for the boys to work, boys and girls. I like having places that are putting on good shows, and BCW do, baffling booking decisions aside, they do put on good talent and good shows. And I like getting to see, Dowie James and JXT and Slade Mercer and all them in Adelaide when they come over with BCW and stuff. It's always good. So I don't want to tear it down at all, but false advertising is not on. False advertising is not on. I tore into Iron Fist Pro for it, right? When Street Gang Hooligans was supposed to be there, Shun Skywalker was supposed to be there, Shao-Kat was supposed to be there, and they weren't. And no one ever said anything. They were supposed to be tag team titles, and they weren't. And no one ever said anything. I still don't have answers as to why these things didn't happen. Not real answers. And this is the same. It's false advertising. You are putting someone on a poster saying they're going to be here, and you can't hide behind that card subject to change bullshit. Yes, the card is subject to change. Yes, people get hurt. Yes, things happen. People pull out. Life things happen. All that sort of stuff happens. But this is a week ahead, and you're being advertised in 2 different places. We know you can't be in those 2 different places. And this doesn't fall on Kellyanne. This falls on BCW not having their shit together with regards to that. I don't care if she's the champion. Do not advertise her. Advertise against the winner of the championship match the night before. That's the way to do it. I'm really bummed out about this. I will be at the show, and I will raise my displeasure with the people at the show. I'll say, where's Kellyanne? She's on the poster. That's not cool. Don't do that. That's bad. Sebastian Walker and Seb Costello are going to have a match, it looks like. There was a Gino Gambino and Seb Walker promo. Sebastian Walker. Seb Costello, Sebastian Walker. Right. Gino Gambino and Walker had a promo where basically they said the ball's in Seb Costello's court. And Seb Costello responded, and he was like, look, you want me to step into the ring? You're on, kind of thing. And so it looks like we're going to get a match. Like, nothing's been announced, but it looks like there was a call out. It looks like there was an acceptance. Is it going to take place at Fallout? Is it going to take place sometime after? I do not know, but I'm very excited. Millie McKenzie versus Kellyanne, as I mentioned, that is happening at Fallout. Street Gang Hooligans and the Brat Pack. Dream match. Absolute dream match. Street Gang Hooligans from over in Perth taking on the Brat Pack for the MCW Tag Team titles. It's amazing. Cannot wait to see this one when it goes up on Vimeo. The card for Fallout is looking fantastic. Of course, you've also got Slex versus Robbie Eagles, which we talked about a couple weeks ago. Amazing stuff. Definitely looking forward to it. Another show to look forward to on May 10th. Once Upon a Time at Max Watts. Davis Storm, we talked about him just before. He's a legend of Australian professional wrestling. The godfather of Australian professional wrestling. He has laid out a challenge for Caveman Ugg. The match has not been officially announced. Ugg probably has to accept the challenge, but, he'll say Ugg, 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 and the match will be on. Davis Storm, Caveman Ugg. These are the kinds of matches Ugg needs to cement his reign. He's just had a great match against Matty Warburg, putting him in there with Davis Storm, and obviously this is going to extend the defenses on Ugg's reign. I don't think that Davis Storm is going to become a permanent member of the PWA roster. I don't think he's going to have a championship run. I would be happy to be surprised. Love me some Davis Storm, but I feel like this is a match that's going to help put Ugg's reign over, and it's going to do a good job, because anyone who is not familiar with Davis Storm going to this PWA show at Max Watts, you are in for a treat. Davis Storm is amazing, and this match is definitely one to look forward to. So presuming Ugg accepts the challenge, Davis Storm, Caveman Ugg. A good follow-up to Matty Warburg, if ever there was one. I'm looking forward to it a lot. That May 10th show is looking like it's going to be something else. But that does it for the main highlights of the news this week. Let's cut across and listen to my chat that I had earlier this week with Stella Nix, and then I will hit you after the interview with what's happening this weekend near you.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
Hey guys, just a reminder, if you want to hear all of these wonderful B Plus podcast episodes completely ad-free, make sure you head over to Patreon or Podbean, where we are the featured podcast this week. You can subscribe for as little as $1 a month up to $10 a month, where anything you want to help us with, it really helps out. It's going to help us grow the site. It's going to help us redesign some things, and everything that we get through this and through the advertising as well is all going straight back into the podcast so that we can get Aussie Grapps out there for the rest of the world to hear about, for the rest of the world to see, so we can grow this mission of watch global, support local, and build indie wrestling. So if you want to be a part of that and get some really cool rewards like call-in shows, bonus episodes, ad-free like I mentioned, then head over to patreon.com/theb+ and subscribe today. Hey everyone, just want to take a second to tell you about one of our new sponsors, OUTBREAK NUTRITION. OUTBREAK NUTRITION are creating supplements for survival, sharper minds, quicker reflexes, all the energy you need to take your performance to the next level, whether that be on the field, in the gym, on the gaming field. That's right, they have specifically designed gaming supplements as well to help you focus on those late night sessions. They even sell coffee, you guys, at OUTBREAK NUTRITION. You can get coffee pods, you can get coffee beans, you can get supplements for the bedroom as well if you want to enhance your performance there. These are performance enhancing supplements for every aspect of your life, specifically designed by gamers, for gamers, to stay fit and healthy in the gym, to stay sharp and focused on the game, and to dominate in all areas of life. So check out OUTBREAKNUTRITION.com, and for being a listener of our podcast, they will give you 10% off your order when you enter the code B+. That is BPLUS at checkout. So make sure, if you want to stay on top of your game, if you want to take your performance to the next level, OUTBREAKNUTRITION.com, enter the code B+ at checkout. I am joined at this time by my personal pick to win the EPW Rising Star Cup. She is the bubbliest brawler in Western Australia, the most glittery grappler in the Great Down Under, EPW's star child, Stella Nix. How are you?
Hi, I'm really good, thank you.
That's good. Thank you for coming on the show. I feel like you've kind of come out of nowhere this year in a big way. Is that?
Yeah, kind of. I've been around all throughout last year. It's just this year I've kind of been able to make a name for myself and get myself out there a bit more.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously you've been doing it for... How long have you been involved in the wacky world of pro wrestling, and how did you get involved?
I started training 2.5 years ago on the 30th of October in 2016. So, yeah, I've been training 2.5 years, and I just found out about the EPW Open Day and went down to the training school to, give it a go.
Right, cool. So it's one of those, lifelong fan, sort of found it out on Facebook, like they're advertising for a school kind of thing, and you just thought you'd check it out?
Yeah, exactly. It was kind of a couple of months in the making that I wanted to start trying wrestling. I was a dancer at the time, and I was kind of knowing that was on its way out, and I was looking for something else to do, and I figured that if I didn't try wrestling now, I'd probably get to the point of never trying.
Right. And so you've been with the EPW school for, from day one of your personal journey?
Yes. They took me in when I knew absolutely nothing and have made me into something at least.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the legacy of the EPW school, some of the talent that have come through there is insane. So how is it coming out and now sort of starting to travel and starting to get bookings and what have you, and sort of know that you're carrying the school, carrying that legacy?
At first, it was very, very scary, especially when I went to do Wrestling Go in Sydney, and they made it clear that I was from EPW, which I did not know they were going to do. And then knowing that I have to, live up to that legacy and live up to the standard of what EPW has produced and is known for, I was very, very scared at first, but I had all the support of my trainers that, I'm okay to do this. It's, I know what I'm doing. Yeah,
well, I feel like you've definitely lived up to it, and it's because it does have quite a legacy. And especially seeing you in Wrestling Go and stuff, I felt like you're one of the most, your offense is so innovative.
Yeah, I guess it's a bit different and a bit unique. I have taken my background as a dancer. I'm not a gymnast. I've never done a day of gymnastics in my life. I've taken what I know from dancing, and when I was kind of creating an offense style, I figured I could do a lot of stuff that the guys couldn't do, and they were the ones I was training with and almost competing against. So I was like, well, I'll do what they can't do, and I can do all this entirely different world of offense.
Right. So I assumed that it was a gymnastics background as well. So you get that a lot, do you?
Yeah, people think I'm obviously got the gymnastics background, but I certainly can't flip. I've never done a day of gymnastics in my life. I did acrobatics through dancing, but I'm more into the kind of flexible, I guess the more artistic gymnastics is what people would compare it to, but I've certainly never done gymnastics a day in my life. Right.
So the sort of the innovative, the kicks and stuff and the spider rana and stuff that you do, how do you come up with stuff that, because you remind me of and this is a big call, I can't believe I'm about to say, you remind me of RVD, just how it's stuff that I feel like I haven't seen before, and it just feels fresh, which has got to be hard in 2019.
I guess I don't know, I generally see a bit of wrestling from everywhere. I'm always on social media, always having a look at what's around happening around the world, and I just kind of take it, bits and bobs from places, and I try and combine it together. And then I just have a go and see what works. We've had a couple of stuff that hasn't worked out that I've tried. But definitely, I just kind of, take inspiration from everywhere and anywhere and kind of combine it together.
Right. Inspiration from lots of GIFs and stuff. I mean, you've had GIFs of yourself go viral as well.
Yeah. That was pretty cool to happen. Yeah, just GIFs all over the internet. I'm always on my phone, always on social media, checking out wrestling in every country around the world. And, I definitely like wrestling in this day and age. You can see so many different things.
Yeah, and there's a lot of different styles, and I think that's something Australia's known for as well, is being that melting pot, where all those there's a lot of those styles do come to the fore here and sort of clash with each other. It's pretty cool. But you touched on social media there. I'm a big fan of your social media presence as well, specifically on Twitter.
Thanks.
You feel like, I mean, we live in an age where wrestlers have to be super accessible, right? And like, is that something that you like? How important is that to you?
Yeah, I don't know. I've been on social media. I've been on Twitter for years, ever since I was like a wrestling fan. So I've kind of seen like how, you know, social media has grown over the years, especially in wrestling. But I don't know. For me, it's just a place to kind of share what's happening in my life. You know, share what I'm doing in wrestling, share what I'm not doing in wrestling sometimes. Just sometimes a good place to like vent when you're having a bad day. And there's people out there that care. And, you know, connecting with people all over Australia in wrestling, mainly on my Instagram, I tend to do that. But, you know, following wrestlers from all the different states and then getting a chance to meet them and be like, hey, I know your entire life story. Everything you've been doing in wrestling the past like 2 years. But hey, it's nice to finally meet you.
That's pretty surreal. I mean, yeah, I've enjoyed following along with a lot of your stuff that you post as well online, specifically around, you know, your decision just on a whim with less than a week's notice to fly yourself to New York for WrestleMania. How was that?
That was, you know, spur of the moment. If I don't do it now, I'll never do it, which has been my attitude in a lot of wrestling. I just figured that, you know, I just wanted to do it. I've always wanted to go to WrestleMania, ever since I was a child. And I finally had the chance where I don't have a permanent job where I'm working every day. I have a bit of flexibility. So I was able to kind of up and leave. And I knew that if I didn't do it this year, that chance was not happening in the future. So I was like, I'm just going to go. I have a credit card now, which is the worst mistake of my life. But we bought the flights, we bought the WrestleMania ticket, and we, jumped on the plane and off we went.
With less than a week's notice. That seems so, like, I have children. So, like, to me, I'm like, I need like 3 months notice to do anything.
Yeah, I'm generally that person. I always plan trips months and months in advance, you know. I plan every little detail, but I was pretty much even like in the airports being like, okay, how do I get to my hotel? How do I get around? I kind of, did it all on very, very short notice, but I did very well. Happily got around New York and New Jersey all by myself, and had best time of my life.
That's amazing. So that's a big learning experience all in itself.
Yeah, I started traveling when I was younger, so I'm kind of used to, you know, airports and traveling and, you know, the ins and outs of all that, but I've never been to America, and I certainly have not traveled that far alone. You know, Sydney this year is my first interstate trip for wrestling, was the first time I was, you know, really on my own. And, then I decided that if I could do that, I could probably go all the way to America.
Yeah. That's incredible. Was it a purely WWE trip for you? Did you catch any of the other stuff that was happening? Did you take your gear? Wrestlers always talk about that, right? You got to take your gear with you.
I had several messages saying, did I take my gear? And I did not take my gear. And, you know, it was too late to kind of organize anything like that. And I'm very much not, given how many Australians are over there and the quality they are, I definitely don't feel I'm at that same level yet. So I definitely wasn't going to try my luck just yet. But I mainly went for WrestleMania. I did manage to go to the G1 Supercard as well at Madison Square Garden. Nice. I figured, you know, seeing a show at Madison Square Garden is kind of one of those, you know, dream things as well. So I wanted to tick that off.
Total bucket list.
Yeah, but it was definitely too late to organize to go see every wrestling show that I did want to go see. And I kind of knew that I wanted to see New York. While I definitely have plans to go back to America, I don't know whether I'll get to New York again.
Right. Yeah, so, I mean, you're logging a fair few miles on the frequent flyer card. Like you said, you went to Sydney for Wrestling Go.
Yeah.
Is that something we can expect a lot more of, you know, in the near future? Stellanix branching out from WA, maybe going overseas, definitely interstate, that sort of thing?
Yeah, I'm hopefully going to try and get a bit out there a bit more this year. You know, my priority is definitely EPW and getting onto, like, main EPW shows. That is my main priority here in my main goal in wrestling, but I definitely do want to branch out a bit. And hopefully, if not this year, next year, try and make it maybe international.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, having trained with EPW from the start, you know, I mean, I know something that a lot of our guys and girls do is go overseas to do, like, you know, Lance Storm or Black and Brave or any of those and do like a little travel trip. So, you know, something like that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. I've got a couple of other guys have spoken about, you know, wanting to go train at Lance Storms. I know that Julian Ward and Jay Taylor did that a couple of years ago and they loved it. So maybe a couple of us rookies might have to go and do a trip like that.
Yeah. I feel like there's a lot of really good schools out there for our people to excursion to, and Lance Storm and Black and Brave seem to be getting all the love. And I'm like, what about the Dudley school, or Booker T's one as well? He's got one as well now, doesn't he? Kane, I think, started one.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of positive things about Chikara and their wrestling school there.
Yes.
With Mike Quackenbush. Gavin McGavin does nothing but rave about training with Mike Quackenbush. So if anything, that'd be one of the things I'd love to do.
Yeah, Mike Quackenbush is like my wrestling god. Like, for real. Like, Chikara is amazing. So I'm very happy to hear you say that. I feel like you would really fit in there as well, with some of the gimmick stuff that we'll talk about soon. But with EPW and their school, they've started the school showcases, right? And that's where you've really come to the fore, is on this school showcases and bringing back the Rising Star Cup. What did it mean to you to be included in the Rising Star Cup tournament?
Knowing what the past winners have actually gone on to achieve and have the success they have in EPW, it was pretty cool to be included in that tournament. And knowing that I've already made it through the first round, that's a huge weight off my shoulders. But we've got a lot of work to do until we can, obviously get to the finals of that. But yeah, it's so cool that they've brought it back, and it gives us an immediate goal to work for. Being very goal orientated. I'm always looking for the next thing to kind of strive for. And bring back the Rising Star Cup tournament has obviously given us that immediate goal. It sits in our school every week, every training session. It's sitting there. We're all looking at it. We're all knowing that's our goal, is to win it and to, have the chance for that.
Yeah, something to strive for.
Yeah. And it's there every day, so we're staring at it every day. So, that's really much the immediate goal, is to, win that tournament.
Yeah, I saw one of the promos you did for your match with Jack Edwards for the first round, and clearly you're no stranger to trophies.
Yeah, I have a lot of those from my past life.
Yeah, it was a lot of trophies. I don't think I've ever seen that many trophies. It was insane. So how would it feel to be, you would be if you were to win the Rising Star Cup, which, as I said, you're my pick, you'll be the first woman in EPW history to win the Rising Star Cup.
I guess I would be. I don't really think about those things. I very much view myself as a competitor, the same as all the other guys. Gender really doesn't come into it much, but it would be cool to say that I would be the first woman to win the tournament. But yeah, it doesn't really come up much. We don't really think about those kind of things. Right,
which is similar to Chikara and PWA. They're very similar in their mindset as well, and I love that because I wanted to talk about that. Even Jack Edwards did a post on social media after your semi-final match where someone had heckled him for losing to a girl.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, but she's a badass wrestler.
Yeah.
And I thought it was really nice. So how do you encounter that kind of thing a lot?
Not too often. Maybe it's just kind of the places that I do get a wrestle at. We don't really, either I don't hear it or, it doesn't get said. But, one of the things that I was told quite early on in my training was that my goal isn't to be a female wrestler, it's to be a wrestler. And that's always what I've kind of done. I've never had anything in my head about, I'm a female wrestler, that's all I'm ever going to be. It was, I want to be on the same level as the guys I'm training with. I started training with Jack Edwards from day one, Teep and A. I've grown with them throughout this journey, and I've always strived to be on the same level as them. And, we're different wrestlers. We're always going to have our differences and, our unique talents. But, I want to be as good as them because, we're the same thing. We're wrestlers. Wrestlers wrestling.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the thing, right? And I feel like it's something that fans need to remember too, is you guys train together every day. There's no difference in the training.
Yeah, not at all. They're every single week training with those guys. Currently there's, one or two other female, trainees, and, I don't get to train with them as often as I'd like to, but, they do the exact same training that I did when I first started, and there's really no difference.
Right. And so do you think that the future of wrestling is just wrestlers being wrestlers and, the gender thing needs to fall to the side?
Yeah, I definitely think that. It's wrestlers wrestling. You can tell so many different stories when you kind of just look at the two wrestlers in front of you. I think the hardest things I've encountered is kind of that I'm a smaller wrestler.
Yeah.
A lot of the guys do tower over me, and that's just a size difference. That's not gender or anything. So we've encountered that, the idea of me being squashed pretty quickly.
Yeah.
that's probably like the only real issue I really have ever seen is that like it's a size difference. It's never about a gender.
Yeah, the size thing's not a gendered thing either, because I mean, you stood across the ring from Candy Lee, and she clearly outsizes you, outmatches you, and I mean, even like a Steph DeLander or getting in the ring with like a Vixen or something. Like these are imposing, strong. Like just the size thing is there anyway because you're a smaller individual.
Exactly. I'm just encountering a lot, obviously, in Perth at the moment. There's not a lot of female wrestlers that, I'm just being towered over by the guys.
Yeah. But switching track a little though, the Star Child gimmick. What inspired the Star Child?
I love stars. That is pretty much the basicness of that is that I love stars. I love astrology, astronomy. I could sit outside and stare at the stars and the moon all night. That is a love. And if I could do anything in the world, obviously besides wrestling, it would have been to study the stars and to do astronomy. Obviously, their dream careers, but they didn't obviously work out. So yeah, my kind of Stella comes from me wanting, I just love stars, but also the whole child thing is that, I'm small. I do not generally look my actual age. So I play up on being a child. It's fun. I like embracing my inner child, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're also one of Tyler Jacobs' children.
Yes, I am. He is definitely my mentor. He has his flock of children and he is inspiring.
It looks like a cult.
I will not comment on what the Luminous Temple actually is.
Okay.
But, I do wear a dress that is ill-fitting at times, but he is leading me on the path to the light, and for that I am forever grateful.
Yeah. I mean, I say it looks like a cult, but clearly, I mean, we see you on the showcase shows. You have your own personality. You got the glitter and the bubbles and all that shining through. So it's one of those things. It's sort of it's like the least restrictive cult ever from the looks of things.
So whenever Tyler Jacobs needs me, I will be there. But I am free to do my own thing. I am free to live my bubbly, glittery life. But if he does need me, he just has to call, and I'll be there to help support and maybe deliver a sunset bomb if needed.
Amazing. Is that hard to do in the dress?
I've only ever done it the once, so I can't say whether in the future would be difficult, but I've only ever done it once in a dress, so
okay.
Not really. It was a lot easier than I thought.
Yeah. So one of the things that I appreciate most about your character, like just going back to that, is the bubbles, right?
Yeah, so that actually was very much on a whim. We were at the Royal Show last year. We did EPW was at the Royal Show, Perth Royal Show every day for the 8 days. And I was walking around the Royal Show on like one of the first days, and they were selling bubble guns. And I laughed at it and I was like, oh, that would be cool. That would be a lot of fun. So I bought one, mainly because, I was using glitter at one point and throwing glitter around, and the guys didn't appreciate that very much. It got everywhere. They were sparkling afterwards. They couldn't wash it off. So I, was kind of like, maybe I won't throw glitter around. So I started using bubbles, and then, I don't know, I had so much fun at the Royal Show, blowing the bubbles, high-fiving kids. Probably one of the best weeks of my life. That I kind of now have grown to the love of bubbles, and, it gets people excited, it gets people happy. Who doesn't love a good bubble gun? And then I started finding out that I could buy bubble machines and bubble wands, and now I have a drawer full of bubble machines.
A drawer full of bubble accessories. Yeah. It's amazing. I used to play in a pop punk band, and we started referring to ourselves as bubble punk because we would put bubble machines on stage.
Yeah.
So I get it. I really appreciate it. 'Cause I'm like, wrestling needs more bubbles, music, everything. Like, life needs more bubbles. Bubbles are amazing.
It does. You never forget the pure joy of like popping some bubbles. And my favorite thing is also seeing kids' faces light up at the thought of bubbles. I have a little cousin, and we bring out my bubble machines when she comes over, and she's just standing there running around, popping them, laughing. And it's that pure joy that like I want to bring into wrestling. Yeah.
Well, it's like in Knocked Up, right? Like, I wish I loved anything as much as kids love bubbles. Like, Well, if people want to find you online though, so if people want to find, get more bubbles and glitter into their social feeds, where can they do all that?
You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at StellaNix_. And my Facebook page is StellaNix-professional wrestler.
All right. Thanks so much for coming on the show, Stella.
No worries. It was great. Thank you.
So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Stella Nix, wrestling needs more bubbles. I can't agree with that statement more. Everything needs more bubbles. Life needs more bubbles. Bubbles are amazing. And if you liked that interview and you like other Aussie Grappler interviews, there are more Aussie Grappler interviews for you to listen to. New Conco and the Fudge episode came out this week with Party Boy Jax Jordan, the second member of the Black Shirt Cool group. Black shirts are not cool. I don't know why I'm even giving you the airtime right now to say that you have a podcast out. Black shirts are not cool. On the Turnbuckle and Wide World of Wrestling both spoke to Eric Bischoff this week ahead of his upcoming 83 Weeks tour where he's going to come out and do his podcast stuff live. It's very exciting. Definitely check out both of those interviews. JXT released an episode of Talkin Stick from his time over in the States. He's talking about how his whole little States tour came to be. Very personal chit-chat that he goes into. Definitely worth a listen. We also had Criss, a very MCW week in terms of the Aussie Grapplers, because Criss Fresh, one of the heads of creative there at MCW, he hopped on the horn with Wrestle Radio Australia with Todd Eastman up there in Queensland, and they had a bit of a chat about, creative and MCW and all that good stuff. And of course, there was an MCW chat heavy show on the Turnbuckle as well when the MCW head of social media, Rebel, stopped by to co-host, and also they interviewed Mikey J, who is of course the head of MCW. So lots of MCW administrative chat in the podcast universe this week, and that's all the stuff out there for you to listen to. There's also some good stuff to be watching this week. EPW released Gold Rush and their School Showcase 2 Front of the Line, which features the Stella Nix, who we spoke to just before. You were just listening to it. You don't need me to tell you. There's no go back in the archives here. You literally just heard Stella Nix, and now you can go watch Stella Nix on the EPW School Showcase Front of the Line. Get that on their Vimeo service. I'll put a link in the show notes. Iron Fist Pro, their second show, The Way of the Fist, has gone up on YouTube for your consumption in individual matches. It's up completely for free on YouTube once again, which is the right price point for this show. Definitely check it out. There's no commentary this time. A lot of people weren't fans of the commentary the first time around. Some of these matches are really, really good. You get to see Imam the Kid in his debut match in the country and tearing it up. Definitely worth checking out Iron Fist Pro on YouTube. Headhunter Rig cut a promo against Massive Q for Newcastle Pro Wrestling that I really enjoyed. Very basic stuff from Headhunter Rig, but very effective promo. Krackerjack has started up Bastard TV again, 2019, episode 1. He's having a midlife crisis. It's hilarious. Link will be in the show notes. And of course, I did mention in the news as well, the Total Flogs teaser. Definitely worth checking out. I will put the link in the show notes. But now it's time to take a look at what's happening this weekend across the country and across the pond in New Zealand. Capital Pro Wrestling present The Return at Wainui Intermediate School on Good Friday. The Wainui Express will take on Rough Guts and Paul Sayers. Lily Faye and Scarlett go one-on-one. Shooter Shane Sinclair and the Alpha Elite Charlie Roberts will both be in action, and much, much more. Tickets start at $10. Down in Victoria, PCW host a Good Friday appeal on Good Friday at Southeastern Entertainment Centre, with 100% of ticket sales being donated to the Royal Children's Hospital. And on Saturday, once again, they hold Ignition, of course, at the same venue. Tickets for these shows are $20. On Saturday night, GCW return to Geelong for Revenge. Band of Brothers take on Super Crash Brothers with their GCW tag team titles on the line. Sketch and Gabriel Wolf will battle over Sketch's cash-in contract in a ladder match. Bianca is hosting a Queen's Royal Open Challenge for her GCW Women's Championship, and the GCW title is on the line when Andy Phoenix defends against Jean Wen. Up in New South Wales, AWF State of Origins takes place Saturday night. We talked about it in the news. Of course, the Fox Footy Show folk will be there filming, so definitely get down to that one at Parramatta RSL. Keegan Bredel takes on Chris Rucker. Wesley Williams and Masked Kamikaze face off, and in the State of Origin series, Queenslanders Adonis J.L. Gold and Spaceman Dacey will face off with DJ Sonic, Kasai, and TNT respectively. Tickets start at $15. Over in Western Australia, capping off the weekend, it's a light one this weekend because it is Easter, of course. On Friday night, Schwa, Southern Hemisphere Wrestling Alliance present Long Live the Kingsley. From the Creator Wrestler Workshop in Kenwick, Odin and Oz take on the Warn Bros. The Great George takes on Mazdek, and Zenith and Warship go one-on-one. Of course, the new Schwa champion Jeremiah Kingsley will be in attendance after his shocking upset defeat of Craven. Tickets for that one are just $10. Definitely worth checking out a good night of Schwa action for $10, and that does it. That's everything happening across the country as far as it stands in my calendar, so if I've missed anything, please let me know so I can get across it in the future. And that's what it's all about, is getting across this Aussie wrestling, getting out there, supporting, going to the shows, buying tickets, buying shirts, buying merch, whatever the merch is. You know, Adam Brooks sells those little pop socket things. I think Katie Trey has foam fingers, whatever the merch is, 8x10s, all of it. Support the boys, support the girls. Get around it. If you like what we do and you want to support us here, you can do so at www.patreon.com/thebeat+, or you can do so by checking out our sponsors. And if you want to get in touch with me on social media, let me know what you think of the show. It's at Greg Unchained on Twitter, at TheGregUnchained on Instagram. We collectively are the B+ Wrestle on Twitter because wrestling wouldn't fit the B+ Wrestling everywhere else. Like, share, subscribe, 5-star review if you like what we do. And thank you so much for listening.